Today, we are going to make some grass. No, I'm not in Colorado, so it's not going to be that kind of grass. It's our techniques that are so simple and sensible, your models will practically build themselves. Howdy folks, it's Mad Dog Merv, and today we are going to talk about one of my World of Tanks tanks. You're welcome. Well, anyway, I am a big fan of the German Panther tank, and it's one of the models. I've built just about every version of the Panther G. Heck, I probably built every Panther G that was ever used by the German Army. It's just something I really like. I've built other Panthers as well, and I'm really into what they call the paper panzers. Ha! Say that 3 times fast. And those are tanks that existed usually only on paper, or they made a wooden mock-up or something like that. Anyway, the Germans did a lot of that in World War II. And there was a lot of different ideas with the Panther. So you'll see that a lot of what I do in World of Tanks is builds with different versions of the Panther tank. One that I really enjoyed playing with on the game, and just I think it looks so cool, and that's the Panther F. The Panther F was, basically it was a Panther G with what they called a Schmalturm. A narrow turret is the literal translation of that. And this narrow turret, they were going to stick a higher velocity 75 millimeter gun inside, and it was supposed to be easier to produce, or whatever, this turret. Anyway, there was a prototype built, but that's about it as far as it got. And as far as the turrets went, I believe there were 2 turrets that were actually built, and they were supposed to be used on what was called the Panther G as well. Anyway, my tank, the one that I play with in the game, has this big, long barrel. It's a KWK, whatever, 100. Big, huge, long, high-velocity barrel. An experimental gun that, again, was a paper drawing that never saw the light of day, but had it, the penetrating power on this thing would have been absolutely awesome. And in the game, it's a lot of fun driving around the battlefield in this Panther F, and watching this big long barrel out in front of you. It's kind of fun. So anyway, this build that I did, I took one of my favorite camos that I have on the game, and I applied it. So let's get into my build of the Panther F from World of Tanks.
So here is what we are trying to create. This is my Panther F with that big long gun on it in World of Tanks. This is the one that I've done. This is the paint scheme I want to go after. So let's get started in trying to build and recreate this. I'm going to use this particular kit from Dragon. It's a very old kit. And I actually love these, simply for the fact that they build very well. They're pretty simple. They're not overly complicated. They look great, and, well, they're cheap. I think I picked this one up for 20 bucks. I don't know that I've ever paid more than $20 for a kit like this. It does have a couple of little issues, and we'll talk about that as we get into the build. So first off, here we are in the game with this particular tank, and the camouflage. I really like how this is in the mountainous areas and whatnot. I think it looks fabulous. Great camouflage pattern. Don't know that it was ever used, but still, I think it's pretty neat looking. You can see the Flammvernichters are on this one, how the Schmalturm is, and man, when this thing fires, yeah, it's really just a fun tank to play with in World of Tanks. Very maneuverable. Does a very good job of penetration power with this gun. So let's get into the build on it. First, let's look at the main difference in this Panther from all the others, and that is the turret, this small term that comes in the kit. Now, the one problem with it is it's a little oversized. The corners kind of hang off over the side of the tank just a little bit. There are some resin correction kits out there that are actually really nice. You know what? There was one wooden mock-up made of this turret, so I'm okay with just building this particular one because it's fictitious anyway. We're going to use the stereoscopic rangefinders that come in the kit on this small term, and we are also going to use the mantlet that comes in the kit. But we are going to toss this barrel, and we are going to opt for a KWK 42 L100 barrel, so the big long thing, and we are going to put a muzzle brake on that. So here it is, and what I did to build it, you could get an aluminum barrel. I'm a tightwad. I didn't do that. I actually built this out of styrene tube that I have, and I think it turned out okay. To me it looked right. Measured the appropriate length that I needed to cut it to, and it's they still look cartoonish. I mean, wow, they're this big huge long thing, but this is how it turned out. Went ahead and camouflaged it, and then put a little bit of carbon powder, or in this case just a black pigment on the end of the barrel to give it kind of that simulation that it's been firing a little bit. So as I said, we built the turret itself directly from the kit. Really quick assembly. Went ahead and painted this. Decided I was going to paint this whole thing with Testors Model Masters Dunkel Gelb, and I used my airbrush for that as my base color. Then I painted their signal brown in these patches. I airbrushed it in these brown patches, and then I took the olive green from, again, Testors Model Master, and this I brush painted on to cut those edges in around the brown. After that, we needed to do some weathering, so I did my usual, gave it a gloss coat, put my decals on, used my Larry's bathwater to get into all of the recessed areas and kind of over the whole thing. So I used some Larry's bathwater wash, and then we went ahead and gave it a dull coat. Once that was dry brushed it with kind of a tannish gray, a light tannish gray color, and that was the basic weathering I did on it. After that, I decided I wanted to put some streaks on it, some kind of grimy looking streaks. I didn't want this to be totally beat up and whatnot. I mean, it was fictitious, but hey, if it had been built, it wouldn't have been in combat for very long. So I went ahead and took some of my Octone 502 by MiG wash brown, the same technique that I used on the Panther 2 build that you see here, and I would just put little dots along the top of the turret, and then I would take some what do you call that? Not turpentine. Anyway, white mineral spirits, thank you, on a flat brush, just a little bit damp, and then I would drag those little dots down to simulate the streaking on the tank. And I did that on the turret, and I also did that on the hull as well. You can see here on the hull, I just built it straight from the kit. Nothing special here. The screens actually come in the kit, which is great. I mean, for a $20 kit. The Flomfig Nictors are from the kit as well, and I definitely wanted to have those, this being a late war, G, F, kind of thing. So those, I went ahead and kind of weathered those up a little bit as well. I took a couple of spare wheels that came in the kit, went ahead and painted them up, and just tied them with some thick thread that I had from some ship models. Anyway, I took that and just tied it to the rear here, so simulating that they just carried their spare wheels around there. You can also see that I added a gas barrel, a 55-gallon gas barrel. And quite often late in the war, of course, gas was a commodity. So I decided to go ahead and weather this thing up with some rust-colored pigments and it came dented like this, which was really good, and then lashed it down to the rear deck to simulate, hey, we got to carry some extra gas with us. So the figure is, well, he's one of those DML figures, that tank crew figures that is out, and I just kind of painted him up to make him look, well, like a German tanker, and put him there on the deck in kind of a commanding performance looking thing. So for the tracks on this kit, I just used the individual tracks, the plastic, regular styrene tracks that come with this kit. Now, a lot of people don't like them, but I like the individual tracks, and you just got to clean them up a little bit. They paint up well. I think they look great. They're actually fairly easy to assemble, especially if you use the Tamiya glue. So anyway, hope you liked this build.